Okay, I don't think there's too many funny moments in this one, but I'm going to tell it anyway. It's a hard one. It's kind of hard on me. Um, sometimes it can be hard to find a job, even a bad one. Everybody wants to know why do you need a job? What happened to you the last one? And if we hire you, will you stay? I got the call from Sandy's on Thanksgiving weekend in 1976, so a few years back now. They were slammed, just busy out the door. And somebody, maybe a couple of somebodies, quit on them. Just didn't show up. We need someone now. How soon can you get here? And that's it. I had a job. I was washing dishes and bussing tables. I was 18 years old. Um, I hadn't applied, but I knew somebody who knew somebody, and they had my number. They gave me a call. And besides, it's not rocket science, right? Move fast, take away the dirty dishes, bring them back clean. I suppose anybody could do it. Most weren't really interested. I mean, it's like the bottom rung of the ladder. I guess I don't know if there's anything lower than washing dishes. We cleaning toilets was part of it, so I'm not sure. There's probably something lower, but I don't know that yet. Anyway, I needed the cash, so there's not a lot of money in dirty dishes, just minimum wage, $2.50 an hour, back in those good old days. Okay, but that's what I needed, and I wasn't the only one. Marty arrived just a few weeks before me, maybe a week or two, and he was living out of his car. He would finish a shift, smoke a cigarette, have a bite to eat, and then pull into a dark corner of the parking lot and curl up in his back seat and go to sleep. Uh, I'd like to say we're good friends, but actually we weren't. Poverty didn't knit us together. We just fought. But I didn't fight. He yelled, he griped, he complained, and I usually said, "Okay, got it." I'm not that nice a person. That's just the way I fight. I don't yell. I just kind of get even. You'll see. It's just I guess I hate to even tell this story. Oh. Anyway, he was the senior dishwasher, and I was a new guy, and so I couldn't tell him how to do his job. And in some ways, he was a good teacher because no matter what I did, he wasn't happy. So you just keep trying to think of new ways to make him happy. If I brought the trays back, the trays full of dishes, he'd say, "Hey, it's too full." He'd complain if they were too empty. He never wanted me to take my break too early or too late. It was bizarre. If I slipped into the restroom, he wanted to know, "Hey, are you using that or are you cleaning it?" It's like he's worse than the manager. I never had anybody before in my life that took such an interest in what I was doing, and I had pretty much had to check everything with him. And he was making the same wage I was, or maybe a nickel more or something. But I was young. I was kind of used to that. I had a lot of bosses, and I was used to unreasonable requests, and like I said, I needed the cash. Anyway, I needed to learn how to get along with folks who could be a little grouchy, and everyone can get along with the happy-go-lucky ones, right? Happy-go-lucky. What does that mean? Happy-go-lucky, happy? I have no idea. Anyway, and so we got along. After all, maybe being homeless makes you a little edgy. Maybe it's a little tense. And thankfully, I've never had to find out. So we got along until we started aiming a month or so down the road for the same spot in the kitchen, the cook spot, the man in the tall white hat. But believe it or not, most of those guys had been cooking for a decade or more. It was a career for them, not just a job. And it wasn't like washing dishes. You actually had to learn something. It's an investment in time and training, and the manager wants to make sure he picks the best guy for the job. He doesn't want to be training somebody every week. No offense to Marty, but I was pretty sure I was the best guy. And if I could get the manager to agree, then I'd make an extra $1.40 an hour. Okay, I'd move up to $3.90. So, but I want to know, how could I get the manager to see it my way? Okay, so now I'm not proud of the next part, but I'm going to tell it like it is. I decided to burn Marty. I could argue that it was in Sandy's best interest to get me in the kitchen. I was polite. I was agreeable. I was working as hard as I knew how, but I didn't really do it for Sandy's. I did it for that extra money per hour, and I did it because I was tired of being bossed around by Marty. I kind of wanted to get him back. Anyway, Marty worked hard too, but he liked his breaks. He could sit in the back room, have a hot meal, smoke a cigarette for 30 whole uninterrupted minutes. He just did not like anybody bothering him during that time. Our manager, like many managers, tended to run the show like he was a gunslinger from the Old West. He'd shoot from the hip, try to fire off the answers to problems. And so I tried to put those two things together. So prior to his break one day, Marty kept asking for the dirty dishes. I was busting the tables. And he wanted to get all cut up so he wouldn't have any surprises and the kitchen would be clean while he was taking his nice 30-minute break. But I kept pushing the dishes in the back of the trays out front, so they were kind of hidden. I was moving full trays over to secret locations so that they couldn't be seen, and I was basically hiding the dirty dishes. Finally, he gave up waiting, and he took his break. And yes, then I brought all the trays, and it worked even better than I scripted it. The manager was pacing around the back, sipping his coffee, as I started bringing tray after tray after tray, piling them up in the dish station. And Marty was right there, smoking a cigarette, chewing on his fries, and refused to get up. So it was, after all, his break. And I can't remember what the manager said, but he said something and grumbled, kind of similar to Marty himself. He might have even suggested that Marty should get back to work. But if he did, I know what Marty said. Marty would have said, "I'm taking my break. It's my break." That's what he would have said. Anyway, two left him right there. The manager didn't make him go back to work, but he also did not put him in the kitchen. So he put me in instead. Like I said, I'm not proud of it. So I burned Marty. I said, that's what it gives. Anyway, there is an epilogue to this story. I could make a lot of excuses, I'm sure. I was young. I was married. I had a kid. I needed the money. But Marty had his own story, too. He was young. He was undereducated. He was alone. He was homeless. He needed the job, too. I shouldn't have done it. It was unkind. It was uncaring. I should have worked hard, did my best, and maybe, who knows, maybe they would have put both of us in the kitchen, okay? I shouldn't have tried to torch Marty's chance. Anyway, Marty was still washing dishes when I went in the kitchen, but he moved on, like most do, but I think also because he didn't really want to see me in the kitchen instead of him. And at the time, I didn't think much of it. The days went by, maybe a year, and Marty popped back into Sandy's for a bite to eat. I guess he was doing okay. He could afford to eat at the restaurant. And besides, we weren't getting rich. We were washing dishes and cooking pancakes. It's not like there's a lot of money in that. So it's not a hard income to replace. It just meant he had to go park his car in some other lot. Okay? But for some reason, when Marty came in, I told him what I did. I gave him the whole story from beginning to end, just as I gave it to you just now. I don't know if I was bragging or apologizing. I don't remember my motivation. Time had passed. I think maybe I thought it would be good for a laugh. Look back then. But Marty didn't laugh. And he didn't brush it off like it was just some simple apology. I remember he got real quiet. He took the cigarette from his lips and stared at me with surprise, kind of like he was seeing me for the first time. And I remember clearly, he said, "You did that?" And he shook his head in wonder and disbelief. And I knew then I'd taken something from him. It wasn't the money. It wasn't the job or even the opportunity to learn a new skill. It was something else. Marty thought we were friends.